Hi, everybody. Jason Easley with Politicus USA and the Daily, here to talk to you today about something really important that the mainstream media always ignores, and that is Trump appearing to be in severe and serious mental decline. Now, we can all rationalize this or that. I'm not a mental health professional, so I'm not saying this is a mental diagnosis in any way, because it's not. I'm just going on the politics, the appearances, and what we'll call the Biden threshold, in that what the same stuff, the kind of behavior the media used to justify claiming that Joe Biden was in mental decline and too old to be president, they're refusing to apply to Donald Trump. So there's a definite double standard there. But let's see what Donald Trump is talking about. Yesterday, during his conversation with reporters, when he took questions before going to Bedminster about why he fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Let's listen in.
Mr. President, why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think our numbers were wrong.
Let's stop right there. So Trump doesn't have a factual, performance-based reason for why the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics was fired. Trump thinks her numbers were wrong. Why does Trump think her numbers were wrong? Because the jobs numbers were weak and bad. Economists have been telling Trump for years that this tax cutting and tariff agenda he wanted to put in place was going to seriously negatively impact the economy and kill jobs. That's exactly what's happening. The places where jobs are being lost are in the manufacturing sector, in various production elements of the economy. All the things that Trump thought we was going to bring back are not being brought back. And in fact, these places that rely on imports to produce their products are laying off workers. And there are some reports that some companies are using the tariffs as a justification to lay off workers, that they just want to trim their workforce. But there is a great deal of uncertainty, and that uncertainty is being caused by Donald Trump every day changing his mind on whether or not there is a tariff or not a tariff on a given country. Let's continue.
Just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election. Days before the election, she came out with these beautiful numbers for Kamala. I guess Biden/Kamala. And she came out with these beautiful numbers trying to get somebody else elected. Then right after the...
That's a lie. That's a total lie. What Trump is talking about days before the election, remember the election is the first Tuesday in November. What Donald Trump is talking about are the monthly job estimates. The numbers that come out are not the final numbers. They're estimates. They're not the final numbers. When the final numbers are released, then if the BLS has to revise the numbers, they revise the numbers upward or downward. And notice, anytime the numbers have had to be revised upward, Donald Trump, while president, never had a problem with it. When the numbers are revised downward to him to show that his tariff agenda is failing the country and crashing the economy, he's got a problem with it.
The election, I think on the 15th, November 15th, she had an $800,000 or $900,000 massive reduction.
They're not dollars, they're jobs. This guy, his mind, right here, his mind, he's spun off into some sort of Biden-led appointee conspiracy, and he doesn't even know that he's talking about jobs and not dollars.
Said she made a mistake. That woman's numbers up.
That woman's numbers up because he's the king, and someone gave him data and information he doesn't like, so that person has to go. Okay, then we're going to scan through. We got a little bit more here. We're going to flip forward ahead.
Her party, she disagreed with Tulane.
This is about the Fed chair, Fed board member resigning. Trump being all giddy about it.
We'll see what happens.
Then he gets back into in just a moment, he gets back into another question about why he fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
You just have to read what he said. He was talking about nuclear. When you talk about nuclear, we have to be prepared, and we're totally prepared.
He's trying to pretend like he's going to talk about Putin.
On the monthly jobs report, going forward, why should anyone trust the numbers?
Well, that's the big thing. You're right. No, you're right. Why should anybody trust numbers?
Trump cuts off the question I'm assuming the question was going to be, going forward, why should anyone trust the numbers if you fire the BLS chair, the head of the BLS? Trump cuts off the question and goes off into this.
You go back to election day. Look what happened 2 or 3 days before with massive, wonderful job numbers trying to get him elected or her elected.
Trump doesn't even know who he was running against in 2024.
Trying to get whoever the hell was running, because you go back and they came out with numbers that were very favorable to Kamala, okay? To trying to get him elected.
Oh, he knew it was
trying
Kamala.
to get her elected. And then on the 15th of November or thereabouts, they had an 800,000 or 900,000 overstatement reduction right after the election.
Not an overstatement. It's not a reduction. It's a revision, people. It's just a revision. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing crazy. Just a revision. You know, it's nothing unusual.
Elected or her elected, trying to get whoever the
There we
hell
go.
was running, because you go back and they came out with numbers that were very favorable to Kamala, okay? To trying to get him elected, trying to get her elected.
All a conspiracy.
And then on the 15th of November or thereabouts, right after the election, it didn't work, because you know who won, John? I won.
But here's the thing. Your supporters have had issues with these numbers.
I've had issues with the numbers for a long time, but today's, we're doing so well. I believe the numbers were phony, just like they were before the election. And
Trump believes the numbers were phony. What evidence does he have that the numbers were phony? Oh, he's got no evidence at all. None. Zip, zero, zilch. But he thinks the numbers were phony.
there were other times. So you know what I did? I fired her.
Right.
And you know what? I did the right thing.
If any government official going forward is presenting data or information you don't like, should they fear for their job?
I've always had a problem with these numbers. You know, I was thinking about it this morning.
Listen to
Before
that.
the numbers that came out,
He's always had a problem with these numbers because the numbers disagreed with what he claims is happening. His mind is not living in reality. Other presidents, do you remember the time Barack Obama got so angry during the Great Recession that he fired people because the economic numbers weren't turning around as quickly as he wanted? How about the time Joe Biden fired everybody when the COVID cases weren't dropping fast enough when he first took office? You know what? That never happened because Biden and Obama weren't mentally unstable people who refused to live in the world of facts and reality. Donald Trump is literally asking for the government to cook the books. Now, this has already started happening with the inflation numbers because the government stopped collecting actual data on inflation and they're just releasing estimates.
I said, who is the person that does these numbers? And then they gave me stats about before the election. I had a similar problem.
They gave him stats. Who gave him stats and what stats were given? This is where the media drops the ball consistently. They never, ever press for details. They let this garbage fly, and then they just let him keep rambling on.
I mean, she gave out numbers that were so good for the Democrats. It was like unbelievable.
No. That's a lie. That's a lie. We can go back through the Democratic jobs numbers and see that they weren't all unbelievable and great. What they were reflective of was the Democratic policy of putting money into the economy to create jobs.
And then right after the election, she corrected those numbers with, I think, almost 900,000 corrections.
I think
nobody had ever seen anything like it.
I think nobody
Today
had seen
she
like
did
that.
the same
See, this
thing
is all
with the
his broken brain
253,000,
opinion.
whatever the number
This
was.
is not based in fact
no.
or reality.
We need people that we can trust. I mean,
Oh, when he says he needs people he can trust, he means people that will cook the books and lie for him. People that will put out false statistics from the government. That's what he's talking about. Look, this is not a president who's mentally functioning well. This is a president who hasn't been able to shake off the Epstein scandal. And if you notice something, Trump is no longer mentally able to rapid fire steamroll these things with reporters. He can't do it. He gets stuck on one thing and he descends into the conspiracy. It used to be he would say so many things so quickly that it was impossible to get hung up on one or cover one or catch all the lies. Here, he's older, he's slower, he's detached into his own reality, so he gets a hold of one thing and he tries to make that one thing real. He's going to make that real, and he's the president, and you better give him numbers to make that real. Look, this is a real problem. The media won't talk about it. Nobody will talk about it. Fundamentally, the person making the decisions is not making the decisions in the Oval Office based in reality. Until we confront that issue, this nonsense is going to continue, and until the media stops trying to force a square peg into a round hole by treating Trump like a normal president, this is going to only get worse. We need to start calling this what it is. We need to start saying this is not normal, and we need to vote accordingly to limit this guy's power as soon as possible. I'm Jason Easley. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the Politicus USA on the daily. It's $6 a month on Substack. It is a great use of your $6. What else are you going to buy for $6 in Trump's inflationary economy? Please subscribe. We'll talk again soon.